Have you ever had that moment? Maybe in the middle of a quiet afternoon or late at night, when you look around and realize there's no one left to call? Not because you're angry, not because there was some dramatic falling out. Just life happened. People drifted, friends passed, family got busy, and somewhere along the way, the phone stopped ringing, the front door stayed closed, and your world just got smaller. This isn't the kind of loneliness people post about on social media. It's not loud. It doesn't come with big tears or public outbursts. It's silent. It's the kind of loneliness that settles in slowly, like dust in an empty room, especially as we get older. The silence of aging isn't just about a quiet house. It's about the stillness inside, a kind of emotional quiet that makes you wonder if anyone even remembers you're here. Let me introduce you to Linda. Linda is 71. After she retired, she moved to a quieter town, hoping for peace and maybe a little adventure. But instead, she found herself sitting at the kitchen table one morning, staring at her phone, realizing there was no one she could call, not for lunch, not for advice, not even just to say hi. And Linda's story? It's not rare. In this video, we're going to talk about something that often gets overlooked: how losing our social connections, especially for older women, can quietly unravel our sense of happiness, identity, and even physical health. But this isn't just a story about loss. This is a story about rediscovery, about hope, about the truth that no matter your age, your story isn't over. There are still chapters left to write, and yes, they can be full of meaning, connection, and joy. So if you've ever felt forgotten, or if you know someone who has, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you might just see things differently. You're not alone, and you were never meant to be. You know, we spend most of our lives being told to prepare for the changes that come with aging. Doctors warn us about blood pressure, joints, cholesterol. We're handed brochures on retirement plans, living arrangements, long-term care, but rarely, almost never, are we taught how to handle emotional loss, and not just the big dramatic losses like the passing of a spouse. I'm talking about something quieter but just as painful: the slow, silent fading of friendships. It doesn't happen all at once. First, the kids move out. Then a neighbor you've known for 20 years sells their house. You retire, and suddenly the daily chats in the break room vanish. One day, you look around, and the people who once filled your life, your coffee buddies, your walking group, even the friend you'd call just to complain about the weather, they're gone. Not because anyone meant to leave you, but because life changed. This kind of loneliness doesn't make headlines. It doesn't show up on medical charts. Society rarely acknowledges it, especially for older women. There's this unspoken assumption that at a certain age, we no longer need deep friendships, that we should be content with memories and routines. But science tells a very different story. Strong friendships are vital, not just for our emotional well-being, but for our physical health too. Studies have shown that having close, meaningful connections can lower blood pressure, reduce depression, sharpen memory, and even extend life expectancy. Friendship is not a luxury, it's survival. And when those bonds disappear, everything feels heavier. Daily tasks become burdens. Small problems feel insurmountable. Because when you don't have someone to talk to, someone who gets you, it's easy to feel like you're carrying the weight of the world alone. Let me be clear. If you're going through this, it is not your fault. The real issue isn't personal failure. It's a cultural blind spot. We live in a world that prepares us for aging bodies, but not for aging hearts. But here's the hopeful part. Culture can change, and so can we. In the next part, we'll explore how we can rebuild these lost connections and why it's never too late to start again. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly seen? Not just spoken to, but really understood by someone? For many older adults, especially women, that feeling becomes rare, and then it quietly disappears. We often think of loneliness as just a passing sadness, something a phone call or a walk in the park might fix. But here's the truth that might shock you. Loneliness is not just emotional, it's physically dangerous. Research shows that chronic loneliness has the same health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's more harmful than obesity, more destructive than we're ever told. And yet, it sneaks in quietly. You stop sleeping well. You feel anxious, even when there's nothing obviously wrong. You start losing motivation to do things you once loved. You tell yourself you're just tired or it's just aging, but something deeper is happening. Linda, the woman we met earlier, just 6 months after moving, began forgetting appointments. She lost interest in cooking, a hobby she once adored. Her doctor said her physical health looked fine, but inside, she felt like she was slowly fading. Not from illness, but from emotional disconnection. And science backs this up. Loneliness increases inflammation in the body. It weakens your immune system. It accelerates cognitive decline. It's not just in your head. It's in your body, your cells, your brain. The heartbreaking part? So many older women think maybe this is just what aging feels like. But in reality, much of what we call getting older is actually the body responding to unmet emotional needs. Now here's the hopeful part. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a dozen new friends or a calendar full of events. Sometimes all it takes is one person, one genuine, meaningful connection, one person who really hears you, who shares your silence, your laughter, your pain. Let's be clear, staying busy is not the same as feeling connected. Volunteering, joining a class, keeping up routines, they help, yes, but they can't replace emotional intimacy. The real solution begins with awareness, with giving yourself permission to admit, I need connection. That's not weakness, that's human. In the next section, we'll explore how to take that first step back toward connection, and why it might just save your life. Here's something we don't talk about enough: friendships after 60. You see, when we're young, friendship just happens. At school, at work, through our kids or neighbors. But as we get older, life starts to shift, quietly, sometimes even without us noticing. Retirement, children moving away, losing a spouse, relocating to a new town, all these moments are part of what I like to call a social earthquake. There's no visible wreckage, but the foundation of our connection shakes, and if we're not careful, it starts to crumble. Suddenly, we look around and realize the friends we used to have coffee with? Gone. The casual hellos at the office? Silent. The neighbor we chatted with for years? Moved. And that's when a dangerous thought creeps in. Maybe it's too late to start again. But here's the truth. It's not. It is never too late to make a new friend, to reconnect, to feel known and valued again. Yes, friendship after 60 is different. It doesn't happen automatically. It takes courage. It takes being intentional. But it also comes with something powerful: clarity. You know who you are, what you value, and what kind of people you want to be around. So how do you begin? Start small. Join a local event, maybe a community book club, an art class, or a volunteer project. Send a message to that old friend you've been meaning to reach out to. Say yes to an awkward coffee invite. Open your heart to new beginnings, even if they feel clumsy or uncertain at first. Because every small step counts. A brief conversation today might turn into a lifeline tomorrow. That small act of reaching out could change not just your mood, but your health, your hope, your whole sense of being. The key? Openness. Even when it's scary. Especially when it's scary. In the end, rebuilding connection isn't just possible. It's necessary. And it begins with one brave moment of saying, I'm ready to be seen again. In the next part, we'll explore what genuine connection looks like and how to create it, even if you feel like a stranger to your own life. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, "I'm too old to make new friends"? If you have, you're not alone. And you're also not right. That voice in your head? That quiet whisper saying you've missed your window? It's not your voice. It's society's lie, and it's time we stop believing it. The truth is, we don't outgrow connection. We just forget how possible it still is. And here's the beautiful twist: older women, especially, often have more emotional depth, more clarity, more authenticity than ever before. They're not chasing trends or pretending to fit in. They're showing up, real, honest, and ready to connect on a deeper level. Friendship after 60 isn't about matching outfits or weekend parties. It's about wisdom, acceptance, laughter that comes from lived experience, and showing up as yourself exactly as you are, no mask needed. Take Linda, for example. At 71, she joined a local memoir writing class, not because she needed a hobby, but because she needed connection. What she found were 6 other women, each with stories, with pain, with resilience. They began meeting outside of class, reading to each other, talking over coffee, holding space for one another. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it changed Linda's life. That's the magic. You don't need a crowd. You just need one real connection. One person who sees you, listens, shares. And here's something worth remembering. Friendships formed in this stage of life often go deeper. Why? Because they're built on survival, on transformation, on the courage to begin again. These are not friendships of convenience. They are friendships of choice and of healing. So if you're sitting there thinking you've missed your chance, please hear this. You haven't. Your heart is still open. Your story still matters. And someone out there is waiting to hear it. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's a stranger in a class you haven't taken yet. Or maybe it's someone who's also thinking, maybe I'm too old to start over. Be the one who proves them wrong. Because it's never too late to connect. And sometimes, it's the second beginning that holds the deepest joy. Let's ask a question that doesn't get asked enough. Is it possible to be truly happy without close friends? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. Because happiness doesn't come with one fixed formula. For some, connection is oxygen. For others, solitude is sanctuary. And both are valid. We live in a world that often glorifies social networks, busy calendars, and constant connection. But there are women, strong, thoughtful women, who've discovered something quieter, something deeper: peace. Not everyone wants, or is able, to stay socially connected. And that doesn't mean they're missing out. Many women find fulfillment in ways that don't require a circle of friends. Some feel joy through painting, others through gardening, a walk in nature, the warmth of a cat curled beside them, the rhythm of daily journaling, a quiet moment with a cup of tea and a good book. These aren't small things, they're sacred ones. Even so, the smallest human interactions still matter. A smile to a neighbor, a brief chat with a cashier, holding the door open for someone. These micro moments remind us we're part of a shared world, even in solitude. So here's the heart of it. You get to define happiness on your own terms. If you crave connection, build it. Reach out. Say hello first. Join that class or book club or community center down the street. If you love your quiet world, honor it. You're not broken. You're not missing anything. You're just tuned into something others may overlook. And if you need both, a little solitude, a little connection, find your rhythm. Create a life that holds space for both silence and laughter, for depth and stillness. There is no expiration date on joy. No deadline for becoming who you were meant to be. Aging isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a chapter that you finally get to write your way. So whether your path is full of people or gently yours alone, remember this: you are allowed to be happy. On your terms, in your time, in your way. If no one has told you this lately, your story isn't over, not even close. You are still here, still breathing, still worthy of love, connection, joy, and the thrill of something new. It doesn't matter how many birthdays you've celebrated, how quiet your phone has been lately, or how much has changed around you. What matters is that you still matter. Your heart, your voice, your presence. They hold value this world still needs. You see, society has a habit of treating aging like a fading process, as if the lights get dimmer. But I'd argue this chapter of life, yes, the one you're living now, can be one of the most vibrant, honest, and freeing of all. You've lived, you've endured, you've grown. That wisdom, that resilience, that's your foundation. And from here, you can choose what comes next. So maybe, just maybe, today's the day you send that message to an old friend, or look up a local class or a community group you've been thinking about, or simply sit down and write your story. Not for anyone else, but for you. Because the next chapter isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for your pen. No step is too small. One new connection, one shared smile, one conversation. That's where life begins to feel real again. And if you've been feeling forgotten or invisible, I want you to know, you're nigh.